Hi, welcome to Ed Foodie. Today we're going to make some Sunday dinner rolls, or I guess you could say Thanksgiving rolls or holiday rolls. And I'm going to try to do two different kinds. One just the regular recipe, and one I'm going to try to recreate something in my childhood. We used to go to a bakery up in Ohio and get some onion rolls, and it had like a little onion filling in the middle of it, and they were so good. So I'm going to do half of them that way, then half of them just the normal Sunday dinner rolls. So let's get started. I'm going to start with doing the onion filling, and then we can just set that aside and let it cool off. So I'm going to get 1 cup of finely chopped onion, and I got a new gadget here I'm going to try today. We'll see how it works. Looks pretty good. All right, now to cook the onion filling, I just got a little pot. I have 4 tablespoons or a half a stick of butter. Okay, we have our 1 cup of chopped onions. What I want with this onion filling is to have it something like caramelized onions. Like if you look on my page, onion soup, I start with caramelized onions. We're going to do something kind of similar to that. In order to do that, I have about 1/4 of a teaspoon of brown sugar. That will help the caramelization and just give it a nice color. We can add 1/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of paprika, and then a tablespoon of poppy seed. Okay, we're just gonna stir this, good maybe 10 minutes. We want all this butter to kind of dissolve a little bit, and we want these onions to be very soft and maybe even a little bit burnt on the edges. We'll add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. See if you can see that. It's a nice golden dark brown. So we'll take that, set it on the back burner. Oh, the last thing, sorry. I've got a tablespoon of grated fresh Parmesan cheese. And now for the special ingredient, just a pinch of nutmeg. Really does great flavor for the onions. We're gonna pour that in there. Not on the heat or anything, we're just gonna let that, stir that in good. It'll just give it some extra little flavor. Okay, set that on the back burner. All right, so let's get started on the bread. And this whole project is going to be very interesting for me because I'm doing a lot of experimentation with this, and I'm not the best baker. I like to cook. I'm not necessarily a good baker, so I hope this all turns out really good. So what I want to do to start the bread, the dough, I have a half a cup of whole milk, 1/3 of a cup of bread flour, which is different than all-purpose flour. This will make it the bread a little bit more chewy. And then a half a cup of water. We'll whisk this until it's nice and smooth. And at the same time, I'll put this on a low heat. We'll continue to whisk this until it thickens and gets maybe the consistency of like mashed potatoes. So we're going to do this for maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's getting real thick. It's kind of like Elmer's glue, maybe thicker. The old Elmer's glue. So yeah, it's like mashed potatoes. All right, we're going to put our paste into a standing mixing bowl. All right, so I've got 2 tablespoons of whole milk and warm milk. I put it in a microwave for about 15 seconds. You don't want it too hot or else it'll kill the yeast. And so I have some dry Fleischmann's yeast. I'm going to put in 1.5 teaspoons, not quite a full packet. I don't know if you can see this. I'm just going to whisk this or stir this just to get the yeast dissolved. All right, we'll start on the batter for the bread. To the paste I made earlier, I want to add 1 cup of sour cream, and this should be at room temperature, so you want to leave it set out for a couple hours. We'll add a 1/2 stick, 4 tablespoons of softened butter, 2 eggs, 1/4 cup of sugar, white sugar, 3 teaspoons of salt, and then 5 cups of the bread flour. And the last thing we'll put in is our yeast. I've got a dough hook on the mixer. And this is another one of my new gadgets here, first time I'm using it.
Put on a low mix for about 2 minutes.
So just so that you can see this, it looks like all the flour and everything's mixed in pretty good. So now I'm going to turn the speed up to a medium, and we'll let that go for like 8 minutes. All right, let's take a look at our dough. It's a little bit sticky, so I'm going to add another tablespoon of flour. And then we'll mix this just for a little bit more, get this dough where it's not too sticky. Just to let you know, I ended up adding about 3 tablespoons of more flour. See it come off the dough hook real nice. So now what I want to do is just sprinkle a little bit of flour. Cover that all nice with the flour. It's already a really nice, smooth consistency. All right, so I've got all my outside surface pretty well covered. Now I'm just going to form it into a big ball. Put it into a clean bowl. I'm using a plastic bowl. I'm going to cover this, and it should rise to about twice the size of what I put in there. So we're going to let it sit for about 1.5 hours, and we'll come back. All right, I've got a 9x13 baking pan, and I think it would be better if you have a metal one to use it. I don't have a metal one that large, so I'm just going to use a Pyrex. I have 2 tablespoons of soft butter. I'm going to coat this really good, especially because I don't know if the glass may have a tendency to burn more than the metal. All right, we have our dough. And yes, you can see it definitely has doubled in size. These things are kind of nice here because it's got, you know, inches here, so we can get it in just the right shape that we need. So first thing I want to do is punch this just to get rid of some of the air pockets that might be in there. We're going to sprinkle our surface with a light dusting of flour. Now we'll take our dough, I'm going to form it into like a 12-inch square. Looks like one of the old Chef Boyardee pizzas my mom used to make. All right, I've got 2 packages of chives, fresh chives that I got in the store. Unfortunately, I had them put them in the freezer because I bought these last week. So they're a little bit damp. So that normally you just chop them up and then sprinkle them like right down the middle of the dough here. I'll be able to do the same thing, I won't be able to sprinkle as easy. I assume you could also just use some chopped green onion, you know, the stems. I'm just going to go ahead and spread this out. So what I'm going to do now is just roll this up into a long roll, very loose, not tight. So I'm just going to push this down so that it's a long rectangle. I'm going to roll this out again. So what I'm going to do here is try to get it to like a 16 by 6 rectangle. So that's close to 6 inches. That's pretty good 16. So that looks just about what we're looking for. Now I'm just going to kind of make it even all through. So what I'm going to try to do here is get an 8 by 3 grid. So I want to end up with 24 rolls. So I want to do 8 cuts this way, 3 cuts this way. Get our buttered baking dish. All right, we'll start here in the middle ones. I think that might be easier to start with. So I'm going to pinch all these together to keep those chives in there. And then basically roll into a ball. That. And then we'll kind of line them up in our baking dish. All right, we'll do this other end. We'll put some of this onion filling. I'm just going to spread it open. Make a little hole. On the onion filling, if it feels like it's a little bit too dry, you can add a little bit of water. You can see this is, I added maybe a tablespoon of water to this. I'm just going to put in a little, maybe a teaspoon. Okay, so here's what I end up with. I've only got 20, so I guess we're gonna have some Texas-sized dinner rolls. We're going to cover this with some plastic wrap for about an hour. And again, these things are gonna almost double in size. All right, it's been an hour. These have risen a little bit more. I've got 1 egg that I've beaten, and we're just gonna brush the tops of these, give it a little bit of an egg wash. And now I'm going to sprinkle the tops first with a little bit of sea salt, some poppy seed, and then to help me determine the ones with the onion filling, I hope this works. I'm just going to use some dried chopped onions. I'm going to sprinkle on the top. I hope it doesn't burn too much, because the rolls I bought at that bakery had some onions on top, and you know, some of them were kind of burnt, a little black, but it was okay. So we'll try this and see if it works. I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. I'm going to put these in for 30 minutes. I'll probably check mine in 20 just to make sure, until they, you know, turn a nice golden brown on top. Oh man, they smell so good. Also, while it's still hot, the last little step here, I've got 2 tablespoons of butter I put in the microwave. And we're just gonna put this on the top. Now, we'll let these sit for about 5 minutes, and then we'll scoop them out, let them cool off on a rack, and then we'll be ready to eat. So you can see on the left side are the poppy seed. Over here on the right last row, I put the dried onions on top, and that worked out pretty good. The onions are just starting to turn a little bit brown, so that ended up working perfectly. Okay, I tore one of my apart. Here's one with like the onion in the middle. Good. Wow, I really like this. Now, it takes almost all day to make it, but if you're going to have a holiday or Sunday dinner, you could make it Saturday or like Christmas Eve before Thanksgiving to make it in advance. But there you have it. Sunday dinner rolls, with some of them with onion stuffing. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to Foodie right over there. Thank you for watching.